Shall we wait for a few more minutes until all the participants join? We'll start the session by 6:05 sharp. Well, good evening, participants. Welcome to the day 6 on your faculty development program on data analytics with IBM Cognos. I hope I'm audible to all of you clearly.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Thank you for the confirmation. So the today's agenda is like yesterday in the day 5 session, we could just start understanding how dashboards are very important and prominent tools to reflect organizations' critical business metrics as a homogeneous collection. We could give a try on a very simple, designing a very simple dashboard on understanding the market research business intelligence for the bike buyer problem. Today, we would continue the practice of designing much more robust business intelligence dashboards using Cognos Analytics by first understanding what are the best practices or the basic tips and tricks a beginner has to know in advance before creating a dashboard. Followed by, then we'll work on a real-time case study where we would understand or leverage the learning curve on applying how to build a business intelligence dashboard using the Cognos platform for a retail banking term deposit product marketing use case or case study. This is the workflow for this evening session. Welcome everybody on day 6 for this evening session on your FDP. We will start with the first one, that is best practices or tips for creating effective dashboards. Besides creating a dashboard by understanding the major KPIs of the business, aligning those KPIs with our explorations and visualizations, we need to consolidate all these visual synthesis into what we collectively call a platform dashboard. If this dashboard is shared or presented on a real-time collaboration basis, the receivers who receive this dashboard must be able to clearly read and interpret the facts via the figures in the dashboard. That's why creating a dashboard is definitely a different art for every data analyst. There can be many facts that we can present in a dashboard, but one must understand how the receiver must able to uh, decompose or diagnose the facts in the dashboard according to the outcomes of the or objectives of the business process. So this tips would enable any beginner or a data analyst in practice to understand how to better design, construct dashboard artifacts so that they can be offered in a much presentable and readable manner. We'll go with several tips in place, starting with the first one for you participants. You can note down. First, always when we are using some numeric data as a visual artifact in dashboard, that is, whenever you are presenting the representative measure of a quantitative distribution of data items, which exhibit certain distribution or spread in the data, the dashboard can be presented using a visual bar chart or a column chart visualization. But as observed in yesterday's use case, the bar chart that it reads the patterns from the data and presents it is also highly unorganized, that is unstructured. That's why to simplify the method of reading the dashboard visuals, which otherwise would be complex based on the volume and type of visuals that you're including in your dashboard for presentation, to simplify that interpretability, a good practice is whenever you're using a bar or column chart visualization dashboard, make sure before you share the dashboard to the other peers, you try to sort the values in the bar chart. Sorting is nothing but we structure the data either in ascending or descending order of the distribution of the data. That would allow the user to catch the better insights rather than reading every data point on the bar in a random order. To understand this, how to sort the values. We already learned in the last sessions how to create a bar or a column data visualization in Cognos, either in exploratory data analysis or directly using the dashboard elements or tools. First, whichever visualization you would like to sort, typically a bar or column, you need to select that. Then you need to highlight the fields tab. Fields tab is the most important tab that will be helpful for us to construct a visualization on the dashboard in the design view. Then under the length operation, which is for data aggregation, we can choose sort operation and choose the order ascending or descending. So when we do this, you can notice how the dashboard is working for us. Consider this is one of the bar chart. For instance, imagine we have created. This bar chart presents some facts about some products and their sales. If you see the bar chart, the bars are arranged according to the distribution characteristics of each data item. But if we share such a bar chart, which is not in a formatted or structured or organized, the reader who receives this visualization on the dashboard might suffer or take some minutes of valuable time to discover what are the key insights or which product might have highest sales depicted. To discover or catch out that pattern, it might take some minutes of interpretability time by the respondent or the reader of the dashboard. Rather than directly presenting the visual like this on a dashboard, better option is we can do some kind of sorting. Now notice the right hand side of the dashboard, same dashboard, how which one looks pretty easier to quickly to interpret participants. Is it the first one or second one? What do you say? The first one is the right raw one. The second one or the right hand one on the slide depicts a clearly easily readable pattern of the data item which has the highest sale. So the first tip is always sort the data items, especially on the visualization, to give better readability for the users who receive the dashboard on sharing basis. Then how to do that? I just gave the practices here. You have to click on the visualization under the fields tab or select length under it. And then like we were doing the data aggregations in yesterday's sessions, instead of data aggregation, you choose the sort method, because sort, filter, all these operations are available for the data analyst or Cognos users to customize the data visual to make it look more grandiose. That is the first tip for all of us today to build best dashboard. Going forward, let us discover the other tips also. Tip number 2 for all the participants. Sometimes dashboard, besides showing visual elements like graphs, 90 to 95% of the elements on the any BI dashboard might typically include data visualizations. But besides visualizations, yesterday we could also put up a cross tab element in the dashboard if you all have a quick recall. The cross tab is like a summary tabulation which provides an intersection of several categorical variables over some quantity measure, several dimensions over one measure. Same way, there are summary visuals available in Cognos analytics dashboards or other technology dashboards. Whenever we are displaying a metric, for instance, total sales of a company is a metric. Total yearly income in the bike buyer data set is another metric. Such metrics, if you want to present as a summary, you used to be take care that the title should be written very correctly. By default, Cognos Analytics uses smart title labels. That's why whenever building a data visualization, Cognos automatically attaches the title label by itself. If you want to go with the default title, you can use, but it's always better to relabel the title in line with the dashboard purpose and meaning of the dashboard or the individual visualization. To understand this, let us see one example. Summary visualizations are nothing but like you can say them as small sections in the dashboard that display key metrics. These metrics add value, more information, or some top level information to the readers. Consider this is one of the metric that I was trying to project on my dashboard. The current value on screen depicts the total sales. So the value 323K mentioned at the top and bottom as total. But if I directly use this portion total and share it, the one who receives this metric summary visualization might go wrong in understanding it, what actually this metric or value correspond to, because it is generally written as total. Which total actually it pertains to? Is it total of advertising budget or total of sales units? So there is no indication about the measure. That's why you need to format the title label by explicitly mentioning the appropriate label for your summary metric and formatting and making it more enriched with colorification. That's why to add value, going ahead with conventional labels offered by smart tool labeler by Cognos can be customized by carefully relabeling it into the appropriate labels. This is very simple and basic tip before we include summary measures. Customizing the title and label of the visual element is the third one. To do that, the process goes like this. If you want to relabel a title for a visualization on the dashboard, follow the same process. You can highlight the visualization or select it by clicking. To format the label or add, revise it, you need to visit to the properties tab that you all know. Under properties tab, one option is available called uncheck show label. We will be doing all this in hands-on the tips. Under the chart section, there is a dedicated chart section, participants, that you can visit under properties tab and then go to show label, uncheck. Uncheck means that option will be deselected. Then user can write the required title of the choice by removing the default smart label. Alternatively, you can edit that also directly. You can double click and edit the default title and give your custom tailor-made title for more readability. You can apply font colors, adjust the font size and font type also for eye-catching title for the reader. This is second tip, how to use title as the proper title as the label for the data visualization on the dashboard. Now, tip number 3 for the participants here. Always a good practice is building a visualization is really a definite art, but making the visualization go into the mind of the reader is a real art, I say. Labels on charts, do you think add value while we are interpreting the visualization? What do you say? Yesterday in the bike buyer problem or sales data set on the other day, when we build varieties of charts, visual elements, we learned how to add value labels, show value labels was demonstrated. Including the value labels on the chart, do you think would give better readability to the dashboard users? What do you say, participants? Exactly, right. They add more interpretability because otherwise the user has to have a keen eye focus on what data pattern corresponds to what outcome. By adding value labels, the readability increases, flexibility and the ease of operation of understanding dashboard also greatly increases. So let's see what is this labels actually mean. Consider you have just sorted your visual elements on the dashboard greatly. That is tip 1, you all have implemented greatly. But is it sufficient? After implementing tip 1 sorting, better practice is adding the value labels. So what are the value labels here? You can see the two graphs which I'm presenting side by side. One is a simple bar chart. The other one is a stacked column which has categories overlapped on it. Now, what should the reader who reads this visualization should actually understand? What does the bars correspond to? Maybe in case of a column or bar chart, the longest bar would be the maximum value, the shortest bar would be the minima. Great. But what about stacked column? When the stacked column encompasses more elements within it, how to interpret those values or the bar's length? That's why to improve the simplicity of interpretation, you can focus on labels. See, the highlighted labels you can see here, the ones encircled in red color ovals which I'm highlighting here are all the data labels or value labels most for each data item. Like these are all value label. Attaching the value label can easily help the viewer to understand what that data pattern corresponds to. Similarly, in case of a stacked bar also or stacked column, it is good practice or best practice to include. Hello, any query, participants? Hello, I am getting some echo. Some participant I think has unmuted. Kindly mute the microphone. If you have any query only, you can unmute it. Thank you. Yes, so these are all the elements that is the value labels that are to be projected and included as value labels in the visualization on the dashboard. All our efforts using these tips are to build effective and efficient dashboards to share the creative imagination of the analyst of the business process. I hope everybody is able to understand the so far discussed tips to the extent possible. If you have any questions, participants, you can type your queries in the chat window for your convenience. To add these labels, what is the process typically is you can just visit the visualization or highlight the visualization selected. Again, everything formatting of visualization goes in the properties tab. Then under properties tab, we already discussed it, show value labels slider has to be turned on. And then you need to select the type of value label, whether you want to show only value, value and percentage of color, value and percentage of category. Several sub options are available to add more thrust to the visualization for information. You can also place the labels either on the outside end. Currently what you're seeing are the outside end, whereas on the stacked column, where are the labels? Are the outside or inside end, participants? On the second graph, if you see, the value labels are positioned where typically they are not on the outside end, they are inside end. That means they lie within the bar or column. So user can choose the choice of placing the labels as per the convenience of the readability of the user. Proceeding to tip number 4, another important tip to understand. Legends. Legends are nothing but the indicators of the data patterns, because whenever we deal with categorical data or we want to measure the relationship of one category to a quantified variable, typically most visualizations accompany legends with them. By default, the position of the legend might appear either top left corner, top right corner, or you can further customize it to be placed beneath the visualization, that is underneath the visualization, bottom left, bottom right, or completely left or right. There are several options available for the dashboard creator to select the location of the legend. By default, they may appear on the top left corner. So for instance, let us see this visualization. This is a line graph depicting some sale values during the business hours from morning to night. So the legends, if you see the highlighted one, the rectangular box in yellow color, depicts certain legends. Each color depicts one data item and corresponding pattern on the graph. By default, Cognos positions these legends of the data patterns as a collection onto the top left corner. If you are comfortable with the location of legends, you can go with the default settings. Otherwise, you can change the position of the legend from the default to your custom required position. If you look at the second graph here, user changed the position of the legends. So by default, it was on top left. Now we could shift it to the top right. How could this happen? So based on the graph size and other visual complexities, we can customize this. To achieve this, what we need to do is, for whatever visualization on the dashboard you want to customize the legend position, select that visualization or click on it, visit the properties tab. The formatting, as I said, every feature of formatting available in the properties tab. Then choose the position of the legend. Default is left already. You can choose the available options like right and others. And then you can apply those settings. The legend position will be modified or moved accordingly to the chosen position or coordinates. This is tip number 4 for customizing the dashboard visualization in terms of legend position management. Then tip number 5, adding color to text tables. In our bike buyer dashboard yesterday, besides having the stacked bar, stacked column charts, we included crosstab, as I said. The crosstab was built between what occupation levels of individuals have favorably and unfavorably responded saying yes or no. So a table was created with rows as occupation and bike buyer responses count, and the columns were type of responses given. If more categories are there in the label or variable, the size of the crosstab becomes enlarged. In such a case, reading every row in the crosstab might be a tedious task for the user. To add simplicity or reduce complexity, the dashboard designer can take help of adding some color coded background or foreground colors to the text tables. That is, header can be shown in one color, data items can be shown in different color, particularly key insights in the data like maxima and minima values can be shown using some conditional formatting techniques like that. So to understand this, let's see one example here. Consider these are the stock prices, price fluctuations that were analyzed using some visualization or using a crosstab. Different stock labels are present in the first column, the opening balance and closing balance of the stocks, and day change. Day change is the difference between closing and opening balance. Now you could see here peculiar values are there in the last column called day change. For certain stock, there is a negative behavior of the stock. For certain stocks, there is a certain positive drift. If you want to distinguish between the rise and fall of the stock prices effectively in your dashboard, participants, you have the facility to format or add more enrichment to your text tables like crosstabs, etc., by displaying the header row in one font color or one font size, and particularly the key insights can be conditionally formatted. You can see all the negative values indicating the decline in stock price or returns, particularly the returns. Or if you see the upward trend of a stock return, if you want to throw light on it, or if you want the reader to focus more on it, you can use an up arrow indicator. How to make it possible? This again, customization is possible if you could just try to apply conditional formatting. Like as Excel and many other analytical tools, Cognos also uses the feature of conditional formatting, especially when you're dealing with tabulated, summarized data items in dashboard. To apply conditional formatting features to a particular field or attribute in a table, all you need to do is click on that crosstab table, visit the properties tab. Under properties tab, you need to mention the name of the variable that you want to change. For instance, you can see here, I'm presenting the preview of the action for your understanding. Currently, I'm in the properties tab, right? I'm in, let's keep it here. Yes, you could see here, I'm in the properties tab correctly. Then under the current conditional palette, color by, the tool is asking what would you like to color by, right? So I just color by, the name of the variable is day change. Then you need to apply some rules. How you would like to show any data items or stock prices which are negative values, you can mention the rule less than 0 to be using a conditional indicator, that is a decline numeric indicator, or any data item or stock price that is positive can be described as the rule greater than 0, indicating an upward trend. User can add other rules also. Custom rules can be added by clicking on the add rule button here or plus button, and you can define your own rules also to better conditionally format your data which is presented in text tables or tabular summaries. This is another important tip that we all have to keep in mind whenever we are including cross tabulation visual elements in the dashboard. So besides formatting the graphs, we can also format the text tables also like this. Then tip number 6 is another very simple tip like legend formatting. Most visualizations in any analytical tool, if you see, they have the axis, the x and y axis, two-dimensional axis coordinate system. But besides having this x and y axis notation, the default graphs in any analytical tool, they are bound by the horizontal and vertical reference lines. These lines are called grid lines. For instance, the vertical lines which I'm highlighting here, you can see the vertical lines which I'm highlighting here, they represent what? They're all called grid lines, the horizontal ones and vertical. They're all grid lines. One can choose between whether grid lines should be contained in the graph or not, or what if there are no grid lines? Can the visualization be more eye-catching and better readable? Yes, you can put off the grid lines, participants. Simply look at the right-hand visualization again. Which one looks very appealing for you? Having grid lines is like going to the granular and micro level of observation. But if presence of grid line is causing a distortion to the reader in interpreting visualization, you can put off those grid lines so that you can have a plain graph with simple x and y axis to understand. Typically, this kind of approach is used especially whenever we are dealing with the line graphs. Line graphs depict a pattern, right? The seasonal fluctuations, irregularity, cyclicity are present. Trend is present in line graph. That's why to better interpret particular varieties of visualizations, we can choose to put off or switch off the grid line feature also, which is available in Cognos visualizations and dashboards. How to do that? The steps are: select the required visualization where you would like to format the grid lines. Visit the properties tab, and under properties tab, an option is there, show grid lines. By default, it is checked in, that is selected by default. You can uncheck it or deselect it. Once done, the grid lines disappear from your chart. To reproduce the grid lines, again mark the grid lines option or select the show grid lines. You can switch toggle between no grid lines and grid lines option on the visualizing. This is tip number 6 for managing the visuals on the dashboard. Tip number 7, final one, then we go to the case study for today. The most important point that one should experience definitely during building a visual or a Cognos dashboard is when dealing with categorical data in our data set that might have numerous categories, that might have more than 2, 3, or 4 or 5 categories. What kind of visualization is more suitable to present? For instance, if you are trying to present the quarterly sales of a business year, we know that there are 4 quarters in a business year. So you can choose between a column chart, bar chart, or even a pie chart also. So we have only 4 quarter sales. But what if we have 5-year data with us, participants? 5 years business data sample you have at hand, and you want to visualize that. 5 years makes how many quarters? Anybody? Each year has 4 quarters, I am saying. So 5 years would make 5 into 4, 20 quarter data. The more the data points, the more complex the visualization would become. You're right, Mumtali. As and when the volume and variety of data are increasing, if you try to use a legacy basic data visualization charts, Still, they can present your data to the extent possible, but reading that complex graph and understanding the patterns become great challenge to the reader. For instance, here you are seeing a bakery is displaying the sales of different items, consumable end user items. Now, as the number of bakery items are increasing, what difficulty do you discover in this pie chart? Some item sales are quite higher. That's why the composition of the pie or slice is very large. While some of the item sales are typically low, that is why the proportion of the slice or pie size is quite low. If I further include 100 items, do you think the pie chart gets cluttered or not? What do you say, participants? The pie chart gets tightly cluttered with more and more data points, making it difficult for the reader to understand. How to overcome this, which is a very common question to most researchers during their practice. One simple solution is advanced charts are available in our Cognos and other tools. A simple solution is present the big data volumes varieties as a tree map. You can alternatively use what we call a tree map, mosaic map, tree map. The difference between a pie chart projection or legacy charts and tree map is tree map presents the data items as collection of tiles. Tiles are layout, squared and rectangles. The key insights are whichever data item depicts the higher density of the data, those data items are shown in larger size squares or tiles. Whichever data item exhibits a least density data pattern, they are shown in smaller size. But one would opine what is the exact difference between a pie graph on the left and a tree map on the right. Consider the imagination. If I add 100 items, which would be better? 100 items would have different dispersions of the data. Definitely, tree map can not only accommodate 100 items, but more items. There is still chance of cluttering in tree map also, but to identify the better maximas and minimas and closed proximities. If I ask you, identify top 5 selling products from these two graphs, participants, how do you interpret the question? If I ask you, identify top 5 selling products, if you add labels to the pie graph, easily we can decode that question. But if there are 100 products, reading all the labels in circular fashion and identifying the key insight might be challenging. But unlike the pie, if you look at the tree map on the right hand side, the top 5, how you have to understand? You would need to just sketch out your outcomes by checking the larger size squares. Coffee sales, the next larger one is bread, followed by the next larger one is tea, cake. Which visualization now do you think is addressing our question, participants? Whenever we are dealing with voluminous and varied data, unlike the pie, the better alternative is viewing a tree map. Thus, using these basic tips, we need to understand which type of visualization to choose from, what kind of essentials to be included to make it a best visualization on dashboard. Always keep in mind the objective of how a receiver who receives our dashboard would actually feel. We should create a dashboard by keeping in mind as if we are the reader of the dashboard. By keeping the reader intention in mind, we can create effective dashboards undoubtedly. So those are all the quick tips I thought of sharing in this evening session on day 6 with you all. I hope all of you could just get a sense of the tips or best practices and would believe you can apply those while designing your Cognos BI dashboards in our current and future projects. Now, I would like to take the privilege to present the real-time case study on this evening session on the data analytics applications to yield insights for product marketing for retail banks. Before I begin, I would like to know from participants, have you received one data set from our support team, bank.csv? Please confirm. Yes, thank you. All participants are expected to have this data set with you. And once we start hands-on, I would show the further narrations, directions, how to upload the data and what to do with it. First, let us understand this use case in detail, theoretically, and then go for hands-on. Do you think many industries are applying data analytics? In our FDP, we just started with a simple use case on studying the impact of demographics on sales performance. How demographic variables like age, gender, location, how are they influencing the sales. We could discover the impact application of data analytics in a very simple problem statement. In the last 2 days, we escalated our problem case study, or we scaled up ourselves and worked with more complex data set, where we ventured into the automobile manufacturing industry and discovered how market research can be carried out using data analytics. Now I'm presenting the third industry to you in this day 6, that is banking and financial sector. Banks deal with a lot of data every day. Whether this data comes from core banking processes, online or internet banking processes, or any other means, still banking and financial institutions and insurance companies are dealing with a lot of data. Whenever there is presence of data, is there a scope of analytics with the data, participants? What do you say so far from your experience in the FDP? Whenever organizations are generating data, is there a scope for doing analytical research on the data, on the business outcomes? Obviously, there is a lot of opportunity for research, analytical experiments, and further knowledge synthesis and business intelligence. That's why today evening we would take the privilege of dealing the banking industry. Let me give one quick introduction to this problem. Like as data analytics is becoming the driving force for multiple industry verticals, banking sector also realized, why can't we use data analytics to do real innovation, new product offering, customer behavior, understanding the consumer behavior, or any other typical challenges that are prevailing in the banking industry can be addressed using this driving force. Data analytics was currently became one of the most important driving force, especially when before the application of analytics, how was the industry spectrum, how the spheres of banking evolved and transformed after application of big data analytics, all will be reflected today. The tremendous rise of the position of the financials or the financial position of the banks themselves reveals a fact in the last 5 years, how sea changes occurred in the way that banks have re-engineered their business processes. Especially because banking is a very large and broad industry, we would confine application of analytics in this use case on retail banking segment. Usually banks have different type of customers for information. Retail banking customers, usually those are we general people who do prefer to core banking service. The other category might be corporate banking, like organizations and other industries and real-time entities that would like to do banking, avail the banking services. Whether a retail bank or corporate bank, banks have certain key concerns with all, which I'm listing. Any organization should have valuable customer support. What do you say, participants? Whether you're buying a product, whether you're availing a service from the organizations, as a customer, do you expect some customer support during and post usage of the product also? Because the more customer support the companies provide, more customer satisfaction and enrichment, leading to better customer loyalty. I say it's not royalty, loyalty matters a lot. That's why to improve loyalty, banks are now more aligning their efforts on how to increase the customer support in terms of any service, be it like opening a SB account, availing a loan application, or any other kind of financial product. Second most important challenge that the retail banking sector is concerned is risk assessment. What is risk, or how banks need to prepare themselves for risk? Let me give a small scenario. Can you tell me, participant, what is the most widely preferred financial service by most global world of customers from banking institutions nowadays? Of course, banks have variety of services for us, but even in the Indian context, if you see, most of the customers are visiting banks primarily to avail which service more? During the lifetime of banking or during the COVID era or post-COVID era, what is the primary service widely preferred? Think and answer. If you have ever taken any loan from a bank or thought of about credit, is credit a great facility for customers of bank? What do you say? Yes, credit. Applying for a loan from a bank is the richest service that one can get from banking sector for information, participants, credit facility. But is offering a credit, my question to all of you in this evening is, offering a credit to a customer, do you think is an opportunity for a bank or risk for a bank? This is a very critical question for this assignment. How many of you think that if banks give loan to a customer, that would be an opportunity or a risk? Sharadji says it's an opportunity. Zoeb predicts it as risk and opportunity. Satyam Soniji says opportunity. Okay, those who are opening opportunity, how it can be opportunity, I'll just reveal. Because banks earn certain rate of interest on the loan, which is a straightaway common sense. When we offer credit, we expect some additionals, that is the interest. But anybody who would opine it as risk, how do you perceive it as risk? Please, you can share your experiences. How can a loan opportunity can become a risk for the bank? In what way or what dimension? Very good answer, Raji. In case if the loan applicant who gets the loan application processed and loan sanction is not in a position to repay, that would become a greater challenge for the bank, where customer becomes a liability at the basic, and at the most complex level, if the customer absconds from repaying or ignores repaying, that customer would turn to be called a defaulter. Defaulters are obviously highest range of risk for a bank. That's why should banks prepare their roadmap in order to identify which customers are really eligible and promptly repay, which customers are not eligible because they may not repay or don't want to repay. Should they do some initial analysis on this? Obviously, but how can they do this? What is the starting point for that? Obviously, the data generated from the transactions is the entry point. That's why today we have credit scores being allotted. The credit history, the past of the customer can be evaluated in present to prepare for the future. That's why we say, can we learn from the past to become better in the future? If yes is your answer, banking industry would also believe in that fable. Third most important benefit is decision-making support. See how critical the discussion was going on. If you are the bank manager for a few minutes of time, how would you decide whether to grant a loan or not? There are several parameters to be evaluated, like the history of the banking association, credit or CIBIL scores, any other collaterals need to be examined. But even after doing such stringent checks and balances, do you participants find cases of loan infringement, frauds being made in financial and banking sector? Because the truth in the real world, in the news every day that we witness, most of the banks are undergoing credit risk, even bankruptcy also. There are profiles and pictures from continents and countries that made banks go into dissolvency. How do banks prepare this kind of more high severity complex risks? We need some robust framework to help the banking industry. Apart from this, there is innovation also with analytics in banking, finding new profit opportunities. Most banks are also offering credit cards. I hope all participants occasionally would get some calls from the telecallers of the bank offering you to, requesting you to take a credit card, right? I hope some of you or all of you are getting regularly. But I have a question. How can a telecaller make a call to a respondent, hoping or believing that respondent is ready to take credit card? Of course, credit card is a good facility, undoubtedly, that banks would pay on behalf of us and later will build the cycle for us. But do you think these telecallers need to follow a systematic approach in identifying the right customer eligible for a credit card? Or should they contact everybody and anybody offer the credit card? What is your approach, participants? Please give a thought on this. If we were the telecalling team, of course, any banking service is meant for everybody. We cannot ignore a customer because there might be outliers who may not repay. But if we go too stringent, we may lose customer. That's why on an experimental ad hoc basis, the telecalling backbone teams would try to call everybody and anybody. Imagine on a certain day, 1 lakh customers were contacted by telephone or email, out of which only 10% responded, that is 10,000, out of which only 1,000 have subscribed to a credit card. Now, when you want to get 1000 subscribers, you contacted 1 lakh base, which is a very exhaustive trial and error method. Do you all agree with me? Yes, it is an exhaustive trial and method. Rather, do we have any better method where we can believe prevention is better than cure? I say always from the healthcare, it is better to prevent a disease rather than experiencing getting cured for it. How can we cure the disease in banking problems by developing a preventive solution? That's where analytics plays a vital role. You're right, Deepesh ji. They should use analytics to identify proper customer profiles before contacting them. Once done, banks now you find new ventures, who is most profitable customer for them, which kind of targeted market customers they have to identify. All such billion-dollar questions can be answered greatly. Now, at the outset, we could have a quick view of what is data analytics, what is banking. Now, let's strike a congruence between these two. Do data analytics have a scope and place in retail banking? Obviously. Analytics is now transforming the banking industry to become more smarter. While there is a list of challenges that are already compiled in banking sector, analytics can answer them one after the other, almost everything in a greater extent. The primary use of data analytics in retail banking is minimizing the cost of compliance risk. Compliance, do you think, is a very serious property of any organization? Compliance is making sure the business process adheres meets to the regulations and needs of the customer profiles. If both go in a proper correlation, then business could succeed. If any deviation of the customer profiles in regulations to the banks might rule out those customer profiles so that they can minimize the risk. That's why for a monetary benefit in terms of cost compliance and a reputational benefit in terms of minimizing risk, definitely data analytics works as a backend solution for retail bank management. Right, great. Then how can we do this? How can we achieve the, the robust analytics for banks? Analytics can resolve a variety of challenges, providing a new door of opportunities for innovation. Does retail banking can benefit from analytics? Let's see. Yes. Can a data analyst who works as a consultant or researcher could take the bank customer data related to credit card usage, help the bank discover how customers are using the credit card and spending, how many are spending too high on credit card, how many are spending too low or never use credit card. Can we segment those customers? What do you say, participants? That means spending patterns of the customers can be derived from the business process data. That is first and foremost application. Second, normally to deal with our day-to-day transactions like deposits and withdrawals, some of us might visit banks, some of us might do online internet banking or mobile app-based banking, or some of us might even go for an ATM-based operation. Do you all agree with me? Transactioning with bank is in different ways nowadays, unlike the old school era where we used to physically visit the bank. In such a way, do you think banks need to keep an eye on, monitor their customer behavior? Like how many customers do core banking? How many are doing internet banking in a day or fraction of time? How many are operating the ATM? Such a type of insights, do you think will enable the bank to prepare for new services to be offered to the customer? Measuring those operations obviously would be a new invention or innovation, to use the right word, to further enrich the customer usage satisfaction measures. All this can be greatly done using the analytical application, segmenting the customers, cross-selling, which is one of the greatest opportunity for marketers and marketing research divisions. Cross-selling is, if you see nowadays, besides banks are offering you core financial products, other value-added products are you receiving from bank? For example, take HDFC. You have a core banking savings account or checking account with them. HDFC is also sending emails to buy mutual fund products from them. Actually, mutual fund is an investment opportunity which might not fit into the core, but today it has become part of core retail banking also. How could they discover that pattern? by observing the personality behavior, personality analysis we call, or consumer behavior analysis and marketing. Bankers are trying to offer innovative cross-selling based opportunities. Another important, as I said, fraud management and prevention. If you consider the case of insurance firms, insurance companies, there are cases every day that we witness in the daily world or news channels that some people try to claim a fraud claim request, which actually is not authenticated and authorized. In such case, if the claim is not properly validated, financial value would get disrupted or it would get disturbed. That's why before processing a claim finally, it has to go through thorough checks and balances. I hope all of you are aware in the recent times, the income tax department also is using data analytics and artificial intelligence participants. If you want, you can check the global news going around in India. The AI-based algorithms are thoroughly checking how tax claimers are trying to go for fraud claims to get the returns. Now there is an endpoint for that using the analytics and AI practices. Thorough checks and balances are applied on the data parameters of the past history of the claimants, and then only valid profiles are being authenticated and processed, thereby cutting down the slack of unwanted claimant profiles. That's why the application area of analytics is spanning to each and every corner of banking sector. Now, there are value-added things. Now, what we are going to discover here in this case study, as I quoted, is first, let us discover two things. In the current case study, one bank marketing team is struggling to sell one financial product to customers. That product typically is called term deposit product. I hope most of you have heard about the name term deposit in the recent times. Fixed deposits, term deposits, where the investors would invest their money for a certain period of time and earn certain rate of interest also. Now the bank would like to offer that term deposit to their existing customers. The challenges in the scenario are, first, do you think banks can recommend any product to any customer, or should they carefully do some analysis so that they should find the right product and offer it to the right customer? As discussed, undoubtedly, banks need to do a bit of little initial need analysis effort to determine which products suit better to what customer. Is time of marketing also an important factor? What do you say, participants, according to you? Should marketing teams keep a strict eye on what is the right time to call the customer and explain about the product or service, or they can take any time as their choice? Usually, to conquer the markets, the marketing teams might go with an ad hoc approach, but they should also check whether the respondent on the other side is prepared to take the call or email or not. That's why most of the efforts of the bankers go in vain, that is useless efforts. Thus, after studying the availability of the customer, at what time he or she is more convenient and comfortable to take, preferring the best time to market the product is obviously another greater analytical innovation. To make you all understand, I hope most of you have the experience of shopping online. Which is your favorite online shopper website, participants? Like most of the online products, Zoebg buys from Amazon. Thanks a ton. Great. Others also, I think, love to buy from Amazon. Ryoji buys from Myntra. Each one have your own choice. Imagine, are you getting mails from these companies, participants, like Amazon, Zoebg, Myntra, Ryoji? They are sending some mails to your inbox? Yes, today, most of our friends and other partners forgot us, but business people didn't forget us. They are sending mails 24/7 to us, believing that we can be their present and future customers. That is a bitter truth. But are you observing the periodicity of mails carefully in your inbox? Sometimes they send the mail in the evening. Sometimes they send in the afternoon. Sometimes in early morning also. Sometimes no mail at a day. Why are they following this approach? More specifically, if Amazon wants to give some seasonal offers, typically a great amazing company like Amazon is also using data analytics to track their customer behavior. Have you heard about Amazon's seasonal sale opportunity like Black Friday sales? Anybody? Amazon announces it yearly, Black Friday. Why they have picked Friday as the right opportunity for introducing the discount offers on a larger scale globally? around the world. Why not any working day, ladies and gentlemen? Because most of the user availability might be on a different larger scale during the weekend. You're right, Satyam Soniji. People love to shop online in their free time, which is usually weekend. Of course, this varies from geography to geography. Amazon keeps an eye on this kind of consumer behavior and introduce that time marketing based opportunity. Same way, do you think our bank should also discover that fact, on which day they should call or send email, what time should they contact customer, so that they can get a prospective favorable answer from the respondent? Correct. The third challenge is channel to contact customer. Today, we receive banking calls or business calls via telephone, mobile, email, SMS based message contact. There are many channels to reach out to a prospect. Is it required to do a cross evaluation of the channels? See, reaching out to customer can be via any channel, but which channel is more prospective and viable? Of course, some people positively respond on a telephonic call, while some might not even answer our call, but still receive our email and respond to it. So there is convenience of channel to be detected to reach out to the customer effectively. Currently, the bank marketing team is trying to discover answers for these questions as their challenges. And the objectives for this problem are, the bank would like to know from all of us today, is there any kind of more robust and highly powerful platform that can answer all these challenges, so that they can put forward their data and try to do some real-time analytics using the web-based Cognos modeling software, and try to come out with some key insights using the dashboard structure that they can depend on to make some critical decisions for the future in order to improve the business performance of the banking firm. These are the quick challenges and objectives for the case study. I hope all of you are clear with the workflow, participants, what difficulties retail banks are facing nowadays. Currently in the case study, how the banking institution is deriving the roadmap by applying analytics. Yes. Now the problem statement. Whenever we talk about the research problem statement for the case study, the data is already shared by our support personnel to you all, and I hope you all received it. The name of the file is bank, which is a CSV file. That data corresponds to data generated by marketing campaigns by the banking team. Certain marketing campaigns were hosted by the banks, and using phone calls, SMS, email, other mechanisms were followed, and the data was collected as the primary data using a questionnaire. And such data are recorded in Excel sheet for information, and that has to be analyzed. But what is the objective here? Given the data, there are several demographic, psychographic parameters in it, but the target variable that we have to understand here is whether an existing customer who has a bank account is interested to buy the term deposit or not, is favorable or unfavorable to subscribe to the term deposit. That's why in the given data set, participants, if you see, there is one column labeled deposit whose values are either yes or no. It is much similar to our yesterday's use case, like bike buyer is saying either yes or no. What parameters or what data patterns are actually causing the impact on favorable or unfavorable responses of the term deposit buyer, that we have to explore, visualize, and present the facts on dashboard using Cognos for the given data set. Thus, the goal is explore the patterns in the data to come out with some hope that whether a given client or customer will subscribe to a term deposit or not. By extracting the knowledge synthesis from the data, we should generate significant business insights with which we can make critical decisions for the future to assess whether a customer will say either yes or no towards a term deposit. Now, these are the data, some of the data parameters I'm listing on the slide. Of course, you have the data set, I hope, with you. Columns include marital status of the bank customer, job they are employed in, method of contact used by the banks, like whether they have contacted on a landline telephone, mobile cellular, any unknown means. That is, some of the customers were contacted through other means which are not revealed by the bank. Education level of the respondent, month during which the contact was made during the campaign, 12-month calendar was followed. Probabilistic outcome, P outcome, that is Upon contacting the customer, some customers answered the call or responded to the email and other contact methods and have agreed to buy the term deposit. They have believed in buying. That outcome is called success. Then the next category is failure, which indicates the marketing team tried to reach out to the customer, but the respondent answered the call but said no, they don't want to buy. That is where the marketing teams failed in obtaining a prospect or converting the prospect to a customer. This is failure category. Other and unknown are, other is customer picked up the call or respond email but didn't reveal any answer. That is either would buy or don't buy, did not confirm yet, or requested for more time for decision making, fit into other and unknown categories. Other parameters include whether the customer has a own house or not, whether has availed any loans with the bank currently or not, is a defaulter or not. A typical variable here in the data set, if you see, already I said who is a defaulter participants, who availed a loan application but is not promptly repaying or never repaid the loan installments, completely absconded, broke the relationship with the bank. Do you think banks need to contact such a customer for offering other services? What is your opinion generally? If you are the banker in the picture. Zoebji quickly says not at all, because he found that it is a risky profile. Other participants, please throw a light on this question. I mean, a customer who was found to be defaulter from a bank, do you think bank can discover any further prospect from that profile for other service? Like, can I offer him to invest his money in fixed deposits? Mamtaji and Satyamji also adds value by no. Okay, if 10% of the customers are defaulter in every bank, yeah, if a 10% of customer is defaulter, are our banking ecosystem in India is losing some prospects or not? See, some customer might be defaulter for one bank. That means the banking ecosystem should completely rule out him or her from the ecosystem. Think and answer. Imagine I took a loan, I never repay from one of the bank XYZ. But that doesn't mean am I eligible for other service in ABC? Still I can invest my money in other bank to get a certain rate of interest. Do you agree with me, participants? From one bank, I took loan and absconded. That bank is suffering because of me, but I can invest some money that I have with me to grow certain rate of interest in other bank. So if there is a rule mandatory that once a defaulter is found not entitled for banking, if that is the strict system we follow, I think we lose some valuable customers also with it. Probably that customer is not eligible for another loan in another bank. Do you agree with me? Yes. Probably that customer should not be entitled or commissioned for another loan in another bank, but may become eligible for other services unless until it is risky. Correct. Unless until the customer prones a risk. That's why a default variable is also being given, whether a defaulter is eligible for money term deposit subscription. These are all the different players. This thing. Now the numerical variable, those are all categorical variables. Now the continuous variables are also there. Age of the customer, balance amount being maintained. Of course, we have included, not include data set because it has more null values. Day during which the contact was made, call duration of the banking team. Do you think telecaller who tries to call you occasionally for banking services, do you wish to participate in the call for longer duration or shorter duration participants? What do you say? The call duration engaged by the telecaller with the customer, do you think will play a critical role in selling the bank product to the customer? If you are the customer in picture, would you opt for a short call duration or long call duration according to your? It all depends on the needs, which product they're trying to sell us, right? Sometimes, most of the times during our busy schedules, if we get any marketing call, we may not answer it, ignore it, or we can just listen and discard it, disconnect it. But in order to get a prospect, do you think the call duration, some telecallers can quickly convince the customer even in a short duration, provided the product is needy for the end user also. But unfortunately, some telecallers engage in a longer call duration, but still cannot convince the user or might convert a prospect for them. So with this initial assumption, we can also opine that call duration might also have certain influence on the business outcome. What do you say, participants? Yes or no? Call duration employed by the telecaller would also have some effect? Is the question being asked. A lot depends besides the call duration. Campaign type. Campaign type is a numeric value given. Usually, one marketing campaign might share some initial information. A recall campaign, second campaign might be a remembrance campaign to show more impact. Like that, as I said, every day you are receiving emails repeatedly for a product from Amazon, other e-commerce companies, right? So why they're sending repeatedly? When they have observed that we are not responding to their emails or calls, always there is a hope in the business that after a certain trial and efforts, maybe the campaign would become successful. So these are all the legacy thinking of the banks, the old school thinking methods. The target, there are many other variables, of course, I'll be discussing during the journey. The target variable we are modeling is deposit, which has two class labels, either yes or no. Given this basic understanding of the problem and the dataset characteristics, our challenge here is, can we able to do some kind of analytical activity today and discover whether customers in the bank are prepared for our product called term deposit? Who might say yes? What are the patterns that might drive towards yes, and what are the patterns that might drive towards no? We have to further discover. But the challenge in this problem is, even if we discover that pattern, can banks rely on that pattern is my question to you all. Yesterday, we could discover some insights in bike buyer case. Do you think all those might be believable? If not believable, at least they are useful, I'm asking to you all. See, analytics doesn't insist people to believe in the patterns, but analytics assist in going towards a directional thinking, I say. Otherwise, we may go in ad hoc thinking and end up in abrupt serious errors also. That's why banks might challenge the analytics, saying that, should we believe in your analytics of the data? Our answers from the industry are, you can usually go with your ad hoc methods and go with our analytical methods and have a comparative view of it. If you end up in a serious error with your ad hoc methods, whereas using our analytical methods, the amount of error is lesser. So prevention is better than cure. That's why analytics is the top-notch solution for many of the banking queries. Now, to present this scenario, to make it clear for all of you, take this. One day, one marketing team is trying to send some emails, bulk email. The cost of sending one email to one customer, imagine, is $1, participants. The cost of sending one email in a bulk mailing problem is $1 from a mail subscription company. To reach out to 10,000 customers, sending one banking term deposit email, how much cost the bank marketing team is investing? Check out how much cost are they investing. If each mail cost $1, 10,000 emails would round about how much cost? You can look out in the picture. $10,000 is the budget invested by the bank marketing team. But unfortunately, the response rate is 10% of the number of email. What is 10% of 10,000? Anybody? Check out. The response rate was found out by the banks as, if 10,000 emails were sent, only 10% of the customers respond to it. That means 1,000 people have responded to the email. Given this pattern in front of you, if I would like to reach to 20,000 respondents, how much cost should I spend on email advertising? If each mail cost $1, participants, kindly respond. 20,000 respondents were to be contacted by email at the cost of $1 per email. Would attribute to how much? Am I audible to you, participants? Kindly respond. Hello. Yeah, please be interactive highly, because this is an analytics application case study. So my question is what? If 20,000 respondents have to be contacted for marketing a term deposit email at the cost of $1, what is the total marketing budget cost is the question, ladies and gentlemen. From the table, you could see $20,000 have to be spent. Yes, you're right, Satyam Soniji. And what is the response rate? 10%. 10% of the recipients only respond to the email received. So out of 20,000, 10% makes 2,000. So if I want to get 10,000 responses, look out here. If you would like to get 10,000 people to respond, how many emails should I send? Anyone? To get 10,000 responses, how many people should I contact? It is a mathematics, right? Simply 1 lakh respondents have to be contacted because 10% of 1 lakh is 10,000, correct? But look at the budget you are spending for that. How much you are spending? 1 million, $1 lakh you have to spend. What is use of spending so much money on the budget when the response rate is not that great? Do you think is this marketing by bank going towards a productive solution, or it might end up in serious losses? This scenario clearly tells us that investments in marketing are too high, returns from the marketing are very low. You are right, Satyam. Loss is higher here. Now, if you are given a chance, how do you address this problem? How can we resolve this problem? Rather than going with an ad hoc email campaigning, ad hoc means no dimensionless marketing, we can achieve a solution to this problem by doing some analytics. So the business case is, can we minimize the cost? When we cannot increase the revenue, one way of saving profits is we can cut down the cost, right? Minimizing the cost is one feasible solution. Thus, if you say that the cost of each mailing is $1 per mail, out of which 500 customers return per week, 50 weeks mailing activity is done. 50 weeks of mailing marketing is done at the cost of $1, and 500 people have been identified as our prospects. So the total profit here is 1 into 500 into 50, which would come around $25,000 per year. So you can imagine this is the mathematics. So how we could compute the profit? The magic here is this cost. Can it be $1 always, and can it go higher? Mail service providers would not offer only $1 per mail. They might increase the cost of emailing. Once this cost keeps on increasing, would our loss parameter might also increase, participants, if we don't get enough returns? Cost increases, no returns are there, definitely our loss is definitely going to increase. So we cannot control the cost. Cost is a market parameter. Service providers will control the cost. Then how can we win in this very challenging scenario? Let's see how analytics can be used to solve this. Now, possible solution I'm presenting to you before going for hands-on. The company should identify suitable customers who are more likely to respond, who are least likely to respond. If we can clearly distinguish, then half of the problem is already solved. How to distinguish? First, let us have a vision. The same problem I am presenting here. To get a response rate of 3,000, earlier we were investing the 10,000. For 10,000 people, we are investing $10,000. The returns is somewhere 10% of it. For example, I want to generate a returns of 8,000. I want 8,000 people to respond to my email. Of course, the art of writing email is undoubtedly a great challenge. That is another discussion. But look at the cost here. Can we reduce the cost of emailing to reach to large number of users, more prospective users? So in an earlier scenario, to get 8,000 returns, we spend $80,000. If you want, you can just visit the previous slide for your convenience. I'm going back here. Notice, for getting a response rate of 8,000, how much we were spending in the ad hoc method, participants? Check out. Here you could clearly notice the distinction. For 8,000 response rate, company has spent how much money? $80,000 they have spent, as you can see on my slide, right? Our idea here is, rather than contacting 8,000 ad hoc customers, let us contact 8,000 appropriate customers by studying their characteristics using data analytics. So there is a chance that if carefully examined 8,000 prospective people are there, the cost of advertising, which was earlier 80,000, can it be cut down correctly or not? Yes, it was brought down to 50,000, which is money saved here, which is an indefinite profit. But how can that happen? Theoretically, this is all good ideation, but can analytics really achieve this? That's why scenario. I'm presenting one scenario for your quick understanding. Look at the scenario here. Imagine you have 2 lakh customers contact numbers with you. The cost of contacting one customer is considered as $5 per call. So if a telecaller contacts one customer, the call cost goes $5. So the total budget to reach out to 2 lakh is 2 lakh into 5. You can just take $1 million to spend on marketing. But the practices of telecalling said that for every 10 customers contacted, imagine only one customer is becoming prospective. That means for every 10 whom you contacted, only one of them is buying your term deposit, remaining 9 all are saying no towards your call or product. So the profit generated by selling to one customer, imagine, is $100. That means successfully, if you can sell one term deposit to one customer, the commission incentive earned is $100. Given these assumptions, if you are given a database of 1 lakh customer, 100,000 customers, and you are expected to generate 10,000 sales, obviously for 2 lakhs, the budget, advertising budget is $1 million. When we are reducing it to half a size, 1 lakh, the budget would be half of it. That is 1 minus 0.5, which is $0.5 million. How could we achieve this success? Look at the graph on the right hand side, participants. Number of customers contacted on is given on the x-axis. Percentage of success, people buying the term deposit, is given on y-axis. If you can see the blue color straight line, the linear straight line, which I'm highlighting here, what does this straight line tell us is, the more customers you try to contact, more is the success you get. Is it a believable hypothesis or is it a believable fact? I mean, the more I try to reach out, more chances of conversion are there. How many of you support this hypothesis, participants? Kindly respond. To get more profits, should I contact more customers? Is my assumption I'm asking. Can it be a trustworthy assumption? Hypothetically, it is correct. But do every customer contacted will definitely be our customer? What do you say? Amazon displays thousands and millions of products on their website, hoping that somebody will buy. But one day their sales are higher, one day their sales are lower, being such a great company. Then how should such e-commerce companies also validate their customers? Is where the analogy you have to map in this problem statement, everybody. So this model is called the baseline model or hypothetical model in research. In analytics, we call this model as base model. The base model says the more you contact, the more. But one important point we should not underestimate is, if we want to contact more customers, the cost of contacting more customers, will it increase or decrease? Obviously, the marketing expenditure increases along parallelly with more customers contacted. As you saw, one email is costing $1, 2 emails cost $2. After spending $2, imagine only one customer responded. How much is the loss that you incur? $1 for prospect, $1 loss for no prospect. That's why if 10 people were contacted, $10 we have to spend from marketing our pocket, but only one responded, $1 is a profit, $9 is the loss. Do you think this hypothetical model will help the banking industry to sustain and survive? What is your answer, participants? Believing in this hypothetical thought model might work one day or might failure in most of the days. That's why an alternative to this hypothetical model is to generate an analytical model with the data. Look at the red curve. what does this analytical model says is, on top of the base model is always good to begin, but we have to improve the base model such that, imagine if 20,000 customers are contacted, the return is 20%. Look at that, 20 customers are contacted, 20%. If 40,000 customers are contacted, the return is 40. But in our case, we have to contact how many? 100,000 customers. Imagine the base model says that in reality, if 100,000 customers are contacted, profit gained by bank is $50 million. Our analytical model says, is there any other ways to boost the profit? Boost means increase the profit to much better optimum level, for instance 80, by contacting same 100,000 customers. Thus our goal is selecting the right 100,000 customers in such a way that actual profit, which was 50 million, can it be increased to 80 million or further higher if required, or further higher? Is that can be made possible? Obviously. Why? Because ad hoc selection of 100 customer might give you 50, but a careful selection, analysis and exploration of customer profiles, do you think can give an opportunity to increase the returns or not? What do you say, dear participants? By doing a rigor analysis of customer profiles, we can get better profits from the same number of the sample, which when carefully analytically explored is the opportunity we have in front of us. So to answer this question, which is just an assumption, let's do some rigor analytics with hands-on with Cognos for the remaining part of the session on this case study. I request all the participants kindly switch over to your IBM Cognos Analytics platform. If you're already there, that's great. I am now switching to my Cognos Analytics platform. I'm sharing my screen. Is my Cognos platform visible to all of you participants? Now the hands-on begin. First, let us upload the data given to us. So proceed to upload on the Cognos platform. Select new, upload data. I have my data sets collection. Choose the bank data set. If it is already uploaded by all of you, that's great. Based on the volume of the data size, the upload process takes few minutes. The time varies. So initializing the file upload here. File upload process still going on in my case. If you have already uploaded, that's great. Once the data are uploaded, what is the framework in analytics, participants? Recall the last 5-day sessions. Do we need to first investigate the reliability of data or not? That means explore the data, check for any inconsistencies and noise in the data. If required, pre-process it, then only carry forward the data for data visualization and Cognos dashboard based modeling. It's taking quite a time. If anybody could have uploaded, please share the screen. Those participants who could have uploaded can share the screen. In the meantime, my data gets uploaded. Any participant who are doing hands-on with me and uploaded the data can comment. Thank you, Zavji. Great. Yes, this is the data that we have currently. I think the respondent is in data module section, because first we need to check out with the data module. Unlike the yesterday's data, this data might not have any inconsistency, but I'm not sure. Still, we can examine the depth and breadth of the data. So each column has thing, but the best way to determine inconsistencies is what? Explore the data. I say we have to do exploration. That's why, Zoebji, please launch your Explorer. Go to open menu, participants, pick up new item, and then say exploration. Go to the exploration. Select the required data source under my content today. We have bank.csv. Bank wala bank.csv. Yes. And click add. Select the right data source for the project. Now we have the EDA of the Cognos. I hope everybody could see that. Right. Yeah. I'll be parallelly operating on the participant screen. Now what we need to do, we have to start our rigor exploration. 80% of the data science analytics projects in any industry are occupied with data exploration and pre-processing. The rest 20% is only for modeling the data. Please take the bitter reality. which is happening in the industry. Now we will explore the relationship diagram. We already discussed in the last sessions how important is the relationship diagram. The relationship diagram can position the target variable and tries to draw the strength associations from other predictors to this. We could clearly see here other participants, if you could see the relationship diagram, which variables have strong, thick associations with our target variable deposit. Others can please type the answers in the chat. Other participants are requested. P outcome is one variable. Look at the thick lines. Lines which are more darker and thicker are said to be strongly associated than variables which have thin lines. Yeah, you can scale the relationship diagram to find more interesting patterns. So from the relationship diagram, we could discover that to a certain extent, parameters like previous campaign, probabilistic outcome, method of contact, call duration, if you see the thickness very high. These are all the assumptions of the tool. Month of calling are found to be predominantly significant to a certain extent. But we need to add our own explorations, our own justifications to the project. That's why we venture into our own explorations and visualizations, custom explorations. So now let's start discovering. If you look at the data set, can you just go to the data module again? Switch to data module. Yes. Given columns are row ID, age of the respondent, job type, marital, education level, default, so on, many are there. Let's start with some ad hoc. We'll start with univariate analysis. Age. The first column is age here. So we might opine that age of the individual, do you think might have certain relationship or association with the outcome? We opine that there might be, but still we don't know realistically it is there or not. But first of all, check the consistency of the item. Age is a continuous data item, that is a numerical value. Is there a chance of uncertainty in numerical values? Like yesterday in yearly income, number of children, we found some surprising facts, right? There were null values in the data set, outliers in the data set. So we need to check out that. So we will go to the exploration section now and try to depict a visualization. Tell me, participants, which visualization you would use to study the distribution of a continuous variable. Yesterday we worked across some new visualization type. What kind of visualization adds more reality to the data, which will help us to detect the distribution of the data, presence of outliers or not? What is the name of the visualization? Anybody recall? Very good answer, Jebji. Box plot. So we will choose the box plot here. Choose a type. Go to the trend section, participants, and choose a box plot. Right. Now we have the box plot with us. We are yet to confirm. Our idea here is to study the age variable only. So I'm not doing a bivariate. I'm doing univariate. So my point of interest is age. Drag and drop the age parameter into the y-axis. And similarly, drag and drop the age parameter into the key shelf. Yes, all participants, those are doing hands-on, please follow the on-screen operation carefully and from our side and accordingly perform on your side. So this is the box plot generated on the age variable. First observation is, are there any outliers in the age variable, participants? Check out above the maxima or below the minima. Other participants are also requested to be kindly more interactive during session by giving your responses in the chat window whenever required. Yes, there are no outliers. When there are no outliers in the data, it is a direct indication to the data analyst in Cognos that is this variable believable to be considered as some predictor? Yes, computer algorithms can believe to a certain extent this variable to be normally distributed. The data can be near or partially normally distributed, but we cannot still measure the quality of the data until we see the bounds. What is the minimum age of any respondent? Look at the lower whisker. The lower whisker in the bar is corresponding below 20, somewhere close to 18 or 19. What is the maximum age of the bank customer? Closer to 90 or below 90. If you want to find the exact things, you can use the Cognos Analytics Assistant. You can go to the assistant on the top right corner. Yeah, the assistant icon can be clicked. Please type the natural language query maximum age or minimum age. Other participants can note down these values for our confirmation. Maximum age of the customer is found to be 88 years. You can take a quick note of it. Minimum age of the customer from the given research sample found by our Cognos assistant is 18 years. That means the ages of the customers are spread between 18 years to 88. Now, because the data is very huge, do you want to build data groups for the age variable? What do you say? Is it required to create age groups participants like we did yesterday for bike buyer age groups, so that we can fit all the customer age groups or respondent age groups into certain class intervals and frequencies? Yes. For a better visualization, to reduce the complexity of the visual, we need to create our age groups. How do we build? We build the age groups in our data module actually, or you can create in the current visual also. Create data group on age. Yes, now take the age groups here. Current default is 5. You can scale it to 8 groups. Webg, you can increase the counter to 8, or you can customize the need as per your design. Start with the lower age group because the minimum age is 18. Start the age group 18 to 25. 18 left side, you can edit it. Left side wala. Select that and edit it. 80 into 25. 80 into 25. Yes. Next age group 26. Include the upper bounds 26 to 36. Or 35 you can keep. You can initially keep 35 regular intervals. Then 36 to 45. Selection of the age group, there is no thumb rule participants. You can design your age groups as per your convenience. Make sure the more the number of class intervals, the better data patterns would be. Sometimes we take multiples of 20 also, like 20 to 40. The less number of class intervals, data point distribution will become cluttered again. But make sure do not take too many intervals or too low intervals. Make optimal, select optimal number of intervals. 46 to 55.
Sorry to disturb.
Yeah.
So yesterday also I was doing this. I was having a question that
Yeah.
the ranges that we have on the left, should they match the numbers that we have on the right?
Yeah, see, the range border values are like how frequency class intervals are modeled is, in a statistical frequency class interval, there are lower bound and upper bound, right? Some class intervals are inclusive, some class intervals are exclusive. What is inclusive intervals? If you look at the bounds selection, the upper bounds are the boundaries for the current class interval and becomes the lower bound for the next class interval. Do you agree, participant? Upper bound of the current class interval becomes the lower bound for the next class interval. So if you want to fit the data points, some tools, what they prefer is the inclusion of the bounds. That's why user created class intervals are typically might have noise. That's why choosing the class intervals is also a technically challenging task for the data analyst. To avoid the problem of manual class intervals, the best data visual which is available is histogram. If you select a histogram, binning the data into class intervals is taken care by the tool depending on the volume and variety of the data. But if you would like to go for custom class intervals, you can still define that. But many tools have their own methods of programming the class intervals accordingly. That's why you see surprising VD results sometimes. Some bounds might have been un-VD. 26 to 35, look at the range border value being displayed by Cognos. 27 actually. Why it is showing 27 unlike the previous one? Because the successive class intervals, as I said, are outbound carried forward intervals. So you might consider here the 27, but still you can edit it. If you consider 27 your range border value, what happens? One of the customer whose age is 26 years, do you think will be included in this interval or excluded? What do you say, participant? It can be excluded, right? Because that doesn't fit the category. So we might lose the pattern. That's why with ad hoc selection of the intervals, the algorithm might go for certain inclusions and exclusions. But the real art of data binning comes into play when we try to go with selection of advanced visuals using histograms. Of course, it is overridden from Cognos because of the advanced tree. But in basic version of Cognos, you have the histogram tool, which takes care of the binning the interval. Again, it is the user who can also customize the intervals for time being. If you want, you can adjust the range border values also, participants. Choosing the groups as well as the range border values also you can customize accordingly to keep track of that we don't miss any data point. Right. Have we covered all intervals?
I was looking at this 53 on the right and these two lines. So it
Yeah.
should be 53 to 62. And
Correct.
because of the ranges that we are putting from the bottom,
Exactly.
I was about to write 55 here. So wouldn't it be
No.
wrong if I write 55 here?
You write 55 and see what is happening. Edit it to 55 and see.
I think it's manual. We can write anything right here.
Exactly.
It's a label.
It's a group category label, right? If you include a label, the right hand association diagram depicts what? The flow of the edges in that pattern. The lower bound to upper bound connection on the right hand range border is an indication how are the edge data points in the raw data going to be covered in that class interval. The labels can be customized. So that's why the frequency class interval formation labels are up to the choice of the end user. You can cover all the labels in default 5 groups also, isn't it or not? But choosing very low number of boundaries or frequencies are too high might again have either unequal distribution of the data points or too much biased distribution. Bounds initially can start with some ad hoc assumption and can later be refined afterwards also. 86 and above, what is falling in the range? C? Default lower is 80 and 88. Custom, the tool is defining. That's the greatness of these tools, so that they don't uncover any data point. They try to include all the data points in here. Yeah, now click create. Now we have our age group variable already created. Let's go and create some new visualization now. Please click on the create. Select a card. I would like to see how are the deposit buyer responses arranged by the age group essentially. So my age group is my predictor and target is my deposit. So which graph aids in for this purpose? Correct. You can choose from the stacked category, either stacked column or stacked bar. So select your positions correctly. Age group can go into bars, correct. Target variable is deposit. You can scroll down. Can be put in length. Yes, we got some patterns. You can check for the aggregations correctly. Summarize, go for count. Yes, we have some significant patterns coming up, and for distinguishing, ensure the color enrichment. Yeah, deposit. No, age. No, not that one. Discard that. Deposit should go into color. Target variable. We are trying to segment it by target. Now this would produce a great stacked column, right? Yes, stacked column is there. From this thing, you can add more thing by setting up the best practices that I have shared with you participants in the PPT. Show value labels, percentages. If you want, you can use value label format as percentages also. Right. Now tell me which age group was more prospective towards the telecalling team by saying more yes. Other participants can write the interpretations in the chat. Yes, 26 to 35 year customer age groups likely favorably responded more yes. If you want, you can add percentages also later format. Likewise, the same age group 26 to 35 at same time unfavorably responded also very high, right? The probability, the noisiness in the data, that's why there is high noise in the data. We are directly exploring the raw data, but in real-time analytics, what we do is sampling has to be done. Participants, please take a note of it, because the data is highly imbalanced here given raw data. Do you agree with me? The composition of no cases are quite larger than the yes cases. That's why careful sampling and subsampling has to be applied, and then only it has to be explored. This is another practice that we have done. There are many sampling, random sampling, stratified random sampling, all can be applied. But for understanding here the facts, we would explore the raw data in its basic essence. So this is one. If you want, you can rename the graph, Georgie, deposit by age group.
Excuse me, sir, this 88, why is it so awkwardly placed here?
Only one data point. Very few are there.
Okay.
Only very few. Why that category appears on the lower dimension is the amount of age people who are in that stack, in that bin, are very proportionately negligibly less. Right. So the prospective groups from this stacked graph can be considered as 26 to 35 followed by 36 to 45 age groups. However, negative cases are also more, but our point of interest as a telecaller is discover which age groups are more likely. So that is point. If you want, you can add filter, but at this point, this graph is sufficient for us. Likewise, please discover a pattern between job versus term deposit. Please pick up a new graph and try to project a visualization on the exploration. Job versus job category versus deposits. You can choose stacked bar here for this point of time, or column, anything is feasible. So there is one job category here. So you can put job in the bar section, correct? And your target variable shall be in your length section. Apply the correct aggregation measure. Deposit in color. Go for the right aggregation, summarize, count. Yes. Now you could see which job categories are more favorably responding to the telecallers. Check out the categories. Admin and blue collar category professionals are more performing the, yes, very good. Apply the, this is more important. Very nice, Joyabji. Other participants, could you see whatever tips and tricks, best practices we discussed today in PPT? Is it good to see? Otherwise, the graph is cluttered randomly. Now you could see the sort descending was applied. Highest category, job category, which was more favorably responding, happens to be admin and blue collar. That's why, besides knowing the art and science of any technology, one should also know the best practices of using technology for conquering it or advocating it. Very good. This is deposits by job. Clearly, the pattern depicts that more admin and blue collar job category holders are favorably responding, as well as unfavorably also responding. Correct.
So
Then-
you were saying to change the heading. How can we
Yeah.
change it here?
Yeah, you can just click and edit, or you can go to properties. Go to properties tab, scroll down. Yeah, here do you have the fields? No, I think this is not there, but in dashboard we'll edit it.
Yeah, dashboard. Okay.
Once we'll import it, we'll add to pins and then continue the art of discovering. Please choose now duration, but wait a minute. Call duration, if you see in raw data, as we discussed, call duration can be one of the important. The duration was given in seconds. Please scroll to the call duration column. The duration is the values which you are seeing are seconds. So how much time the telecaller engaged the first customer? Can you show us the first record? 487 seconds is equal to how many minutes, participants? 1 minute equal to 60 seconds. Like that, 487 seconds can be how many? Calculate. Others also please add value to the discussion by helping our participant. Divided by 60, it would come around 8 minutes. That means the telecaller engaged the first person for 8 minutes. And what is the result? Joyabji, check out to the right. What did the respondent say? Whether yes or no? No. The respondent answered no. Similarly, check out the second respondent or yes case. Good. You can go for an yes case. Good observation. What is the time? 849 seconds equal to how many minutes? Good. Quick throwback in analytics. 14. That means when the telecaller engaged the customer for short duration, the probability of saying no was higher. But when the telecaller went for long duration call, said yes. But also check for another case. Yes, 222 seconds, correct. This is called dry run analytics, where you're checking the patterns by yourself. 3. That means what did you discover now, participants? Low calls sometimes are generating yes. Too high call duration. But what about moderate call duration? If the telecaller is maintaining moderate call, the probabilities are going higher. But let's check another pattern also in case. But digging out all these by yourself, Joabji, do you think is exhaustive trial or not? What do you say? Quite exhaustive, right? And ad hoc trials. So let's hand over this job to our Cognos tool. Go back to the exploration. Yes, it's very tough job. You're right. But all call durations are given in continuous distribution. Do you think is it straight away advisable to put every call duration, or should we create call duration groups? What do you say, participants? Like we created age groups for ages, is it advisable to create call duration groups also? Obviously. So try to create a data group on call duration here. Now you can just pick up the regular intervals. So we will see here less than, first category you can take less than 2 minutes, that is 120 seconds. All this is observed by using the call duration. But how do I create the groups? That knowledge, how do we get? Please click cancel button. Pick up a box plot on the call duration, FG. Go create one visualization and pick up the box plot to study the distribution of the call duration first. Now position the duration column on y-axis and position the duration in the key again. This would tell us how the call duration are distributed. Check out the call duration. There are outliers in the data, too many outliers. For some of the customers, the telecaller engaged too lengthy calls. But look at the lower whisker and upper whisker. Call durations are mostly spread out from a near 0 or above 0 to near 3000 seconds. That's why if you ignore the outliers for time being, we can decide the call duration categories as what? 0 second means no call at all. That is useless. Above 0 we have to take. I would like to start from less than 2 minutes. Do you agree now? 0 minutes means no call at all. So I'll start with less than 2 minutes and scale it to how much? Above 3000 seconds means how many minutes, anybody? 3000 seconds would make how many minutes roughly? That is the way to derive the categories of the call duration. First, understand the distribution of the parameter. 50 minutes would be, but 50 minutes would obviously be too lengthy call. I hope if we are the customer, we don't permit somebody to speak for 50 minutes on telephone for a marketing product. So let's devise our custom groups. Go for creating a data group again. Let's start with the first category here in place, less than 2 minutes. Less than 2 minutes. Yeah. Next category, 2 to 5 minutes. Where we are picking up some optimal time frames. 2 to 5 minutes means 120 seconds to 300 seconds. Then 5 to 10 minutes. 5 to then 10 to 15. Why? Because just now we found with our calculation 14 minutes was one of the call duration. Then there you finally fit 15 minutes and above. The last one is 15 minutes and above. Whatever are the higher calls, including outliers also, they all fit in this category. So this is a quick categorization ad hoc we are taking based on the distribution. Now click create button. Right, now we have duration group available. Please now create a visualization between call duration groups and the term deposit buyer. You can choose either stacked. Again, the stacked categories will work, or you can also pick up the tree maps, but for better visuals, I recommend stacks here initially, unless you are an experienced user. So pick up the duration group on bar section, correct? Drop the target variable into the length section and do the aggregation. Great. Again, add color enrichment participants. Drop the deposit into color. All those who are doing hands-on are kindly requested to follow the on-screen and perform on your machine. Others who are not doing can observe us. Now locate the significance. Which call durations are found to be more prospective for the telecaller? Less than 2 minute calls and followed by 2 to 5 minute calls. Longer call durations, do you think yielded favorable or unfavorable responses? The amount of favorable and unfavorable both are quite low in case of long duration calls. But if you see less than 2 minutes, whenever the call duration is less than 2 minutes, is it highly favorable or highly unfavorable? Other participants, try to comment on the pattern. Try to comment on the visualization. When the call duration is fixed less than 2 minutes, the chance of saying no is very higher. But which one is more productive for the telecaller participants? Check out the next categories OFG. Hover the mouse there, 2 to 5 minutes. The next category, 2 to 5. In 2 to 5 minutes, the probability of saying yes and no are quite significant. That's why rather than having too low call duration or too high call duration, optimal call duration in order to contact the customer from the data, what analytics is telling is 2 to 5 minutes. Do you think, participant, this would be a very useful insight for the bank or not? 115 customers said yes, 81 only said no. Very good insight, Joabji. Nice. Do you think this data analytics insight would add value to the telecallers to prepare for the future campaigning activity? Do you agree with me? Other participants also. Obviously, it's a rich insight for the bank's telemarketing teams. Correct. Now, drill down the data. Further, we'll add one more visualization, then we'll move to the dashboard. Correct. Now I'm giving choice to the participants. Zoebji, let's listen to our participants. They will recommend one variable. We will build the visualization. Are you ready with me? Right. Participants, now you are required to offer us one suggestion. Please show them the data module once again so that they will pick up the variables of their choice. Tell me, participants, which one do you want us to include in our dashboard? We have selected randomly. I have two choices for you to keep your job easy. Do you think day of the week and month of the year also crucial for contacting the customer? Other participants kindly respond to the question. Do you think the day of calling the customer, month of calling might have certain impact hypothetically? Yes, day is important according to Zoebji. Others, please respond. Yes, day and month can be significant. Zoebji, now it is your turn. Go to the exploration. Build us two visualizations for us. One followed by day versus deposit. Second, month versus deposit. You can pick it any one. You can go for a stacked bar or this thing. Because when you want to show representative quantification, we can use stacked. So first pick up day of the week. Yes, as it already had categories, day of the week in bars you can keep. Then target variable for count in aggregation length. Apply the aggregation. Then color is deposit. Now notice which days are found to be more prospective for favorable responses from the visualization. Comment on this visualization, participants. Right. It is already in order. You can custom. Some sort option might not work here. Thursday, Mamataji finds that Thursday seems to be prospective. Yes, because 21.3 and 21.7 is there, Mamataji. You can see now. Monday is also there. Monday and Thursday are the better days for contacting the customer as per the data. Right? Other participants, could you tell me what is the most worst day for the bank? I mean, where is the response rate, positive response rate very low? Figure out from the graph, anybody? Yeah, again, it is surprisingly Monday because more people are hesitating to respond on Monday. To bring the real insights, you have to think out of the box. Which day has less number of no cases? Anybody? Check out that. Find out from the graph which day of the week has less number of no responses. It is Friday, correct. But on Friday, what is the number of positive responses? 18%, 18.4% positive and rest. What is the highest positive response from the graph? Show the original graph, Joabji. Double click outside. Yeah. Highest response rate was found on Monday, positive response rate, and negative. So if I compare between on Monday and Friday, positive response rate on Monday, 21.7, positive response on Friday, 18.4. Which of these days do you choose if you are the marketing team of the bank? Besides seeing positive, you have to see negative also. On negative, Monday is 20.6, Friday is 18.7. So the better alternative between Monday and Friday is, although the probability of better is high on Monday, Friday is coming closer to Monday. That's why call on a weekend. So the analytical insight is better to call on a weekend rather than on a weekday, right? Can we project this graph on tree map also, participants? What do you say? Zoebji, undo, Control Z kar dijiye. Control Z, Control Z. Press Control Z, undo the visualization. Instead of this very biased map, let's pick a tree map and see the difference. Yes. Go to create visualization. Go to create visualization. And now choose a type. This time you pick a tree map. Pick up a tree map here. Locate the tree map availability. or heat map, you can say. Yes. Have you found the tree map? Great. Yes. Now drag the things correctly. Area hierarchy, you go for your call duration groups or day of the week. Yes. Day of the week, you can put in area hierarchy. Size is the deposit buyer count. And show heat. Heat is the density. Now you see the difference, participants. Clearly, the heat map is depicting some critical. Look at the square sizes and darker colors. Which tiles are larger? The data is quite challenging. On Monday and Friday, probability of saying yes is closer. That's why the longer squares are found in Friday and Monday, while other sides are rectangles, not squares. Wherever rectangle is there, you should understand some noise is there in the data, in the heat map or tree map. Unlike the Monday and Friday, which are perfect squares. So from this tree map, it is imperative that better to contact the customer on which days? Yeah, this is by the distribution actually, because you didn't add the heat actually. To add the heat and deposit the, yes, put out it on the heat intensity. Yes, now you get see some colorification happening, right? The heat will be shown on a scale. Actually, lighter color shades. Here, the data is so challenging that all are shown in dark color. The lighter color shades in a tree map are low intensity data points, and darker ones depict a stronger intensity. Yes, this is the actual heat map. Very nice job, Joebji. Can you see lighter and darker shades, participants here? Lighter color shades are with some kind of intensity in data point, but most challenging ones are the Monday, Thursday, and Tuesday. Why Monday, Thursday, and Tuesday are shown in darker shades? Darker means biased correlations. That means on those days, probability of yes and no are both higher. I repeat, probabilities of yes and no are higher on which days? Both Monday, Thursday, and Tuesday. That's why most selective days for calling are what? Where the probability of yes is high, no is low. This is where the greatness of tree map comes into play. You have to pick up those days where the shades are lighter actually. Stronger correlations are lighter shade, negative or biased ones are shown in darker. So that's why Wednesday and Friday can we consider as our optimal days for calling participants. Do you agree? Wednesday and Friday. What do you
Sir,
say?
I'm still not getting why we are assuming that Friday and Wednesday are like positives for us. Means we don't know whether they are having yeses or no's.
Correct. See, there is some information usually hidden on the intensity scale. Can you see the deposit scale there? See the colorification code. Darker shades means higher quantities, but we still don't know whether they are by categories or not. So here in the heat map, we are studying the density of the data distribution rather the target variable category. So one stacked bar was trying to tell us the patterns in one way, while tree map is intensifying the data. Rather than this, we can also try for bubble chart, Joyji. We can go for advanced charts also. To get more insights on this biasedness, you can put a bubble chart. Yes, pick up the bubble chart. Now on x-axis, what you want to show the call duration groups on x-axis. Few more minutes, participant, then we will pitch it up to the Q&A. Then y-axis, what you want to show? Deposit buyers. Show the duration group on points again. Bubbles will be generated by duration group in the point shelf. Yes. Now the bubbles are pitching up here. And size also you mentioned. How you would like to mention? Yes. So you can customize from this. Larger and shorter bubbles. Larger bubbles means having high probability. Shorter bubbles means low probability in size. Sometimes shorter bubbles have high dark colors. So by size and color intensity, we have to pick up. So for example, in yes case, there is one dark bubble, large bubble is there, which is lighter in shade. What is the call duration at that point? Please hover the mouse. In case of yes category, as per this visualization, the yes category. This is a yes respondent who has took a call duration of 3600 seconds, equal to how many minutes? High, very high outlier, near 60 minutes. Near 60 minutes was the call duration. That was quite
Excuse
lengthy.
me. I think I have dropped the non-grouped duration. Should I put group duration?
Duration group. Did you pick up duration group?
No, sir. It was normal duration.
Okay, that's what intensifying. Yes. Yeah, this is where it comes. Yes, this is the right pattern. Exactly. Now look at the longer and shorter bubbles. Bubble with long size and dark color is the believable one for more. So that's why if you see less than 2-minute call duration ended up in no. Same way, there is one prospect where less than 2 minutes still positively respond, but the bubble size is very small compared to no case. So to pick up the category, is less than 2-minute call believable or unbelievable? Bubble size of yes is low, bubble size of no is large. So less than 2 minutes would end up in a no category only. But if you look at 2 to 5 minutes, look at the bubble size first. Fortunately, the bubble size of 2 to 5 minutes for no case is a bit low, and 2 to 5 minute bubble size of yes is a bit larger and darker. So which category is now more believable, participants, from the bubble chart, looking at the size and colorification intensity? Obviously, 2 to 5 minute category is quite believable than a less than 2-minute category. Do you agree with me? And more surprisingly, one more, Zoebji, if you see the pattern, look at the case of 10 to 5 minute, 10 to 15 minute. Is there a bubble at no category? No. But where is the bubble position? Yes category. Thus, from this bubble chart, participants, tell me the prospective call durations, anyone? Are the better call duration frameworks? One is 2 to 5 minute call duration is one recommended. Second one is 10 to 15 minute. Could you see the power of bubble chart now, all participants? Where a stacked chart just highlighted the value insights, I mean the real insights. Bubble chart generated the more value data pattern. That's why the higher you explore, the better you visualize with suitable charts, the real insights are generated from the business intelligence using the analytics tool. Imagine if we didn't do the bubble chart, did we have missed out on this pattern or not? 10 to 15? Have we missed out on this pattern? What do you say? Obviously, we might have discarded this 10 to 15, which might be a very critical data pattern to consider. Yes, although it is very negligible, but it has generated some patterns for us. So this is all this thing. Tomorrow we will add this to dashboard, finally report and story also at a time. So never forget, please pin those visualizations, Georgie. Add all these visualizations to your pin section, my pins. All the pins are processed here, so that tomorrow we can fetch all these visualizations in once again into a dashboard. And I'll also take the same case study to report, make you all realize whether it is dashboard versus report, which one is better for presentation, and also build a story point finally around this use case. Right. So at the outset for this evening, this is the appeal of BI dashboards with Cognos on a real-time use case of application of data analytics in retail banking industry. Now, Shivani, please open the floor for question and answer. All participants can now, if any questions are there on the discussions done so far, you can open up and present it to me regarding any queries if you have.
Thank you so much, sir, for an insightful session. Anyone having any question can put your questions in the chat.
So the way of arranging things in the dashboard is still very, I mean, like there is no way of doing it properly. So is there a people do it on big screen or something like that when professionals do it?
See, it all depends on the device hardware properties also, right? See, designing the dashboard might be done because Cognos Analytics is available in mobile version also. All the activities so far you're doing on computer, you can design using mobile also. That's why unlike these where you have more convenience, other than Cognos, Tableau has an inbuilt facility called Device Designer, where you can customize your dashboard design to accommodate more better insights, and also discover how when the dashboard is shared to the receivers, how will it look like on different devices. Preview facility is greatly available in Tableau, unlike Cognos. That is one drawback here. Okay, the cluttered area dimension, but to customize it, you can go for the properties section if you would like to unlock the potential value of dashboards to certain extent in Cognos also, because in properties section you have the width and height property settings available for each visualization. But one must remember setting a default width and height for each data visual, how effective and appealing it would be, because some visualizations might have more in-depth patterns while some have only outline patterns. Thus, the effective way in Cognos for building dashboard all starts with one basic assumption: which insights are most critical for the business. First, we have to examine in depth. Such visuals only need to be carried forward because there are more insights, right? Millions of insights are there in this data. Can we accommodate all of them? Is it possible? No tool has such capability in visual interpretation. That's why explore to the depth and breadth in EDA, but while presenting on the dashboard, please carefully select the most pivotal KPIs of the business only. In that way, we should manage our dashboard design capability. Hope you are clear, participant. Yeah, any other questions are welcome. I hope all participants received some extra data assets from our support team, like the startups data set, sales pharma data set for designing dashboard, right? We would advise our participants to take out some time of your day whenever you're free, or post the FDP also, to continue the practice of applying these analytical knowledge experiments and try to get more exposure and experience by self-learning application on the given projects also. We'd be more happy because tomorrow probably might be the last day, Shivani, right, for us, or the FDP?
Yes, sir.
Right. And I would be more happy if there is some opportunity for our participants to discover their learnings also, so that whoever is eager to present on these shared problems, they are most welcome in the last few minutes. We would like to see how far the learnings are being taken away and applied, so that they can present their dashboards on the 50 startups and pharma sales. That would be more opportunity that we would like to give to our participants. Open floor for each and every individual participant also. So as tomorrow is last day, you can give a try on these problem statements and try to make yourself convenient to present that to the extent possible, whatever you can, right? Trial has a limit around 45 to 50 days here. Like you can see on your account, from the day that you started the trial, how it is proceeding on the trial page. Like you can see here, my case, if I just go to the home, I have 43 days still left over. It's a 2-month trial initially on Cognos, 60 days. You can leverage on it, and still you can, once you get hold of the trial done, you might switch to a subscription, participants, for continuing your data analytics discovery. Right.
You can also get 365 days of subscription. For that, we will share the procedure.
Yes, there is a value added subscription for academic learning environments, if being a learner or student academia. For an end user, it might be 30 days. Yeah, right. Any other questions, participants? Finally, to take. Okay, then that's great for your extra minutes of time on session with me on this day and this evening on day 6. Hope all of you could get some enrichment with real-time applications and keep pace with the applications further. Thank you, each and every one of you. Thank you, host, for staying with me. Signing off finally, over to you, Shivani Kapoor.
Thank you, sir, for the insightful session. Thank you all for joining us today. I hope the session was insightful for you.
Thank you. Signing
Good
off.
night to you all. See you all tomorrow. Bye.